Hello everybody, welcome to G-Tech. Thank you for stopping by. Boy, do I have a story to tell you. Where do I start? About 5 years ago, I bought an Apple Watch Series 6. That watch has proved to be a very useful tool. Roll forward to about June of this year. I had been exercising, been walking, putting in some good distance, but yet I didn't feel very well. I decided to take an ECG or an EKG. I guess it's one and the same. When I looked at it, instead of 2 beats, there were 3 beats. Well, going into July, I went on vacation up to my son's house. My wife was talking to my son, and she explained to him I wasn't feeling well. Well, I showed him my EKG, and he noticed that. He noticed those 3 beats. That being said, he's a paramedic and a firefighter. He took me down to the fire station and he put a 12-point EKG on me and looked at it. He told me that as soon as I got home to see my doctor, and I sure did. Again, that was towards the end of July. The doctor ran all kinds of tests on me and then he referred me to a cardiologist. I was diagnosed with VT, ventricular tachycardia, or at least I think that's how it's pronounced. My cardiologist scheduled me for a stress test on Tuesday, the 9th of September. Now on Monday, which was the 8th, I didn't sleep very well that night. I had a headache, I had nausea, I felt chest pain, and also felt like passing out. I finally got up early in the morning and I took my ECG on my Apple Watch. Well, this time instead of 3 beats, it showed 4 beats. So I knew something was a little bit wrong there. I got on ChatGPT and entered the symptoms, including those 4 beats. ChatGPT told me to call 911. I told it that I had a cardiologist appointment at 2:45. It didn't like that. It told me that if I still had those symptoms to call 911. Well, later that morning, that 4th beat disappeared and it was only 3. I printed up the results of that ECG and I took them to my cardiologist at 2:45. He took a look at that ECG and then he took me into the room and he put me on that stress test, which is a treadmill, and they put a 12-point EKG on you to measure. I did fine at first, but then when he put it on the incline, all of a sudden I felt some chest pain. I didn't feel very good and I was out of breath, nauseated. The cardiologist stopped the machine and they gave me a nitro pill to put under my tongue. Next thing you know, I'm being hauled in an ambulance from there to the hospital. And then I find myself under the surgery table with all kinds of people working on me. Well, about an hour and a half later, and you're awake during that surgery, the surgeon, which is also a cardiologist, told me that I had a hard blockage and they put 2 stents in. The next morning, the surgeon came in my room and he told me 2 things. First of all, he said I was lucky to be alive. Second, he said that Apple Watch saved my life. Apparently, my normal cardiologist told the surgeon about that ECG that I printed up off my Apple Watch. He wanted to see those PDFs, so I showed them to him on my phone. Next thing you know, he's texting those to his cell phone. And then he asked me if he could share those with his colleagues and his interns. Of course, I told him yes, absolutely. Later on that day, the interns came in. They saw the PDFs, and they asked if they could have them to share with others to be able to teach them about my experience. And of course I said yes. Also, before the interns came in, my cardiologist came in to visit me, and he told me that watch saved my life. But there's more to the story. That Tuesday morning on the 9th, when I got up after not sleeping, I went to put my Apple Watch on, and the band broke. In fact, the watch fell off, hit the tile floor, and shattered the crystal. Fortunately, I had one link left, they're magnetic, one magnetic link left, and it held enough to get those readings that I was telling you about. So that being said, I went ahead and ordered a new crystal for the watch, and while I was at it, I ordered a new battery. So The Apple Watch saved my life. Let's see if I can save the Apple Watch. Let's get into it. Before we get started, a quick update. A few days ago, while making this episode, my wife called our medical doctor to renew one of her prescriptions. The doctor asked my wife how I was doing. He then told her I was fortunate to be alive and that the Apple Watch saved my life. My cardiologist told him that I flatlined doing that stress test. Our doctor also told my wife that due to the type of heart attack I had, the paddles would not have worked. I'm glad the heart attack happened at my cardiologist and that the nitro worked. Now, let's get on with trying to save my Apple Watch. Here is a picture of the watch with the broken crystal. As you can see, the watch still works. We first need to turn the watch off, and then we need to use a heat gun to soften the adhesive material holding the display to the watch. I bought a really thin metal display removal tool on eBay. After the crystal is very hot to the touch, pry the display from the watch case, working your way around the watch. Make sure you do not slide the tool too deep under the display, otherwise you could damage the watch. When you lift the display, lift it opposite the crown side of the watch. The ribbon cables attaching it are at the crown side of the watch. Lifting the display from the crown side can tear the ribbon cables. Next, using a tweezers, carefully remove the tape holding the ribbon to the back of the display. Once the tape is lifted, pull the ribbon cables out of their connectors and remove the display. Next, carefully pry the battery off the watch. Work your way around the battery until it detaches. The battery connection is too tiny to see with my eyes. Fortunately, I have my digital microscope and discovered a tiny screw and clamp holding the connector down. I have an Apple tool set I bought off eBay, and I found the right size 3-point driver and tweezers to unscrew the clamp and remove the battery. The process of installing a new battery is the reverse of removing it. Carefully place the new connector down and clamp it with a screw and clip. I then used a very small drop of B7000 adhesive and glued the battery to the watch. Next, I worked on installing a new crystal or display by connecting the ribbon cables to the display using tweezers to seat them properly. I then press the loose tape back down over the ribbon cables to secure them. I then laid the new display on the watch and powered the watch on and verified the display works properly by checking the touch sensor. Now it is time to make sure any debris is removed before attaching the display to the watch case. Included in my Apple Toolkit are several scrapers, and as you see, I use them to remove anything that will prevent the display from properly seating to the watch. Next, we apply B7000 adhesive lightly around the entire watch to make sure a proper seal is achieved. Seat the display evenly on the watch and use a small clamp to hold the display to the watch. After about 45 minutes, the adhesive is solid enough to remove any excess that may have accumulated. Again, I have all kinds of tools in my Apple kit to do that. Use plastic so that you do not scratch the watch. Wait a full 24 hours to allow the adhesive to fully cure before using the watch. As you can see here, everything looks and works fine. And there you have it. The Apple Watch saved my life, and I saved the Apple Watch. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next episode. It's a wrap.